It's now that this Libra new moon cycle is going to start to show that the work is paying off, the change is possible, the release is possible, and just wait until all of this starts clicking into place in December, January, February, and we have the bigger planets all starting new cycles in Aries. The ability to feel solid in self and allow other people to do the same is going to be a healthier place of merging than we have ever experienced. This Libra new moon on October 21st at 28 degrees Libra is an opportunity for everyone to have a brand new beginning when it comes to how we relate with others. This has massive themes of love, and I'm going to get into some very special configurations that are starting now and are building towards December and January when it comes to Venus and love and relationships and this new comet 3i Atlas and the potential for expansion of harmony, peace, pleasure, romance, and many things that bring us an enjoyable experience on Earth. These are all Venus topics. However, there is another component to this new moon that has very scorpionic highlights. That means that fear, control, insecurity, manipulation, some of the shadow sides of relationships, the ability for us to feel love and peace and compassion within ourselves is going to be more of focus so that we can take that and bring it into a whole new way of being that is much more harmonious and enjoyable. And it starts with us, but I am going to get into all of these details in the general overview. This will be for all signs, and I am using whole sign house system, tropical zodiac when I get into the sign by sign. A new moon in Libra with Venus here, the ruler of Libra, also the ruler of Taurus, adds extra Venusian flair. So this is about harmony, peacemaking, equilibrium, balance in relationships, listening to other people, listening to ourselves, finding harmonious middle ground for both people while keeping an authenticity of our own needs and moving towards our own needs with the axis of Aries and Libra being in tension where we want to find that middle ground. This moon is also opposing Chiron in Aries, which adds more emphasis to the need to look at both Aries and Venus and Libra at this time. Chiron in Aries, in opposition to this new moon, is going to bring more awareness to ways that we have been hurt that are limiting our ability to move in the direction of our needs. That's Chiron in Aries. What is our connection to self? Where is it limited? Where do we feel like we can act on impulse and on desire? Because we're talking about a lot of Pluto topics in this new moon as well. And where is it that we need to harmonize with another person? The more we feel reciprocity in our connections, the more free we feel, the more liberated we feel to be ourselves, and the more allowance we give to another person to also be themselves without taking that as our own needs not being met. Aries is an energy that we can meet our own needs. There are a lot of other themes to talk about in Aries, like there needs to be a bit more consistency and earth energy to get that action from Aries moving into something that's long lasting. But as an archetype, Aries has no issue taking initiation for what it wants. There is a sense of acceptance of what our needs are and just going for it. So that piece of autonomy is something to look at right now, where if we can give that to ourselves, it's easier for us to give it to other people. But Chiron wound means that most of us are going to be looking at where we were limited to move towards that ourselves and expect that to come from another person. Jupiter is amplifying this axis of Aries and Libra with a square from Cancer, which is going to be about family, our home that we grew up in, what feels safe, what feels nurturing. What can we do for ourselves to feel safe and nurtured, and shift the perspective of what other people need to do to create that for us? that is going to come from our family patterns in the past, our expectations of what our mother and father and important caregivers in our lives should give us, couldn't give us, did give us, and we expect to find that in another person. But where is the reality for that in our current life? Another person cannot meet all of our needs, and we need to find that place that feels settled enough in us to do what we can for ourselves and allow other people to do the same and meet somewhere in the middle. And that's what's going to be unique and different for everyone. So I just want to plant these seeds for extra consideration for what is specifically going on in your life. The importance of Scorpio and Pluto here is that Mars and Mercury are both in Scorpio. They have just gone through their final last quarter squares to Pluto, which is the very last bursting forth of these bigger cycles that were 2 and 1 year approximately. In this energy, with Pluto being the ruler of Scorpio in Aquarius, both of these planets in Scorpio are going to highlight the psychological patterns that we haven't been looking at beneath the surface, whether that is self or other or both. And with Pluto in Aquarius, this is an opportunity to see things more objectively, to move into something that is radical and different and not part of the original imprint and crystallization of upbringing that we thought the world should be like. We are creating something for ourselves in this moment with these squares to Pluto. Beyond Venus in the sign of Libra at the time of this new moon being an extra amplified signature for love, I got information from a podcast interview with Stefan Byrne and Pam Gregory about Pam's perspective of 3i Atlas from everyone that she's interviewed that she trusts as right information and material. Every single one of them, she said approximately 20, said that when they tuned into this comet, whatever kind of astral body we decide it's going to be, it was the biggest feeling of love and expansiveness in this feeling of love that they had ever connected to. What's interesting to me about that right now for this new moon is that it is speeding up towards Mars, which once it connects to Mars, then we have Venus conjoin Mars, which is a very special configuration in Capricorn that has not happened since February 2022. And then like a train of Pluto activation, we have brand new cycles with Mars, Venus, Mercury, and the Sun all going past Pluto. And that's going to happen more into next year. This is a series of events that beyond the outer planets of new cycles that are all starting, we have these inner bodies that are all starting new cycles with Pluto. When we have activations like this, so many activations to Pluto, and this new moon being one of them, the opportunity for facing our fears, feeling empowered in relationships, feeling empowered in ourselves, and that feeding into how we connect to others from a place of empowerment. Yet, I just want to emphasize how important it is to embrace the fear, nurture it with Jupiter in Cancer. Know that the fear is what breeds unhealthy manipulation that can happen in Libra. Libra, as much as it is harmony and peacemaking and love and balance, it also can represent unhealthy manipulation where someone puts another's needs before their own in order to seemingly get their needs met, but it comes from a place of fear. These actions come from a place of fear and subtly trying to control in a very beautiful way with Libra sometimes the needs of another person versus our own. And when we can really get comfortable with our fears, we're less likely to expect another person or project fear onto another person and see it for what it is as far as past hurts of self with Chiron. When we have the capacity to nurture that fear, we are less likely to choose the need to control in a situation with other people, and more faith, more ease of just letting things be. Don't resist that important step. Take the time that you need to process the fear and recognize it as a really helpful element for moving into something that feels different, the potential for more love, more connection in any type of relationship. This doesn't have to be romantic. It could be business partnerships. It could be children. It can be anyone that we are trying to create balance and cohesion with. And synergy. Big transformation, big opportunity to shed and purge everything that is holding us back from more love, better connections. If you have been feeling like this is something you've been waiting for and it's not coming, or you're working towards it and it's not working, it's now that this Libra new moon cycle is going to start to show that the work is paying off, the change is possible, the release is possible, and just wait until all of this starts clicking into place in December, January, February, and we have the bigger planets all starting new cycles in Aries. The ability to feel solid in self and allow other people to do the same is going to be a healthier place of merging than we have ever experienced. I am so excited to talk to you more about the details of these other future transits coming up, but I really wanted to touch on it for this super special Libra new moon with Venus, because I think that this is the beginning of the 6 months ahead. It's 6 months from now, when we have a full moon in Libra, we're really going to start to see how special this 6 months really is. Thank you so much for hanging out here, checking out this video. It is so much fun to chat with you in the comments and connect with you on my one-on-one Zoom readings. I will link that booking in the description below. I would love to hear how this story of love and fear and faith is showing up for you. But now let's get into your sign. Hi, Gemini. This is a new moon in your 5th house. So this is all about creative self-expression, play, fun. This could definitely be dating for a lot of Geminis out there, your children, art, and maybe a creative project if it's more work related. And the 5th house is a Leo house. It is about the heart. Leo is an energy where there's open-heartedness and loyalty. And from this place is where joy and fun are created. It's also alignment of that solar spark and energy inside of us. So this is a wonderful moment for Geminis, where whether it's your children or your hobbies or your creative projects or dating, this is where you get a new moment to set in your creative spark, your solar flare inside of you. And it's going to be more directed towards love because of Venus's presence. And pleasure. You're going to be reconfiguring what all of these things really mean to you. Venus is at 9 degrees. The new moon is at 28 degrees. So every Gemini possession is going to be touched by one of those. And the scorpionic energy, this Mars-Mercury conjunction in Scorpio, Pluto's sign, this is in your 6th house of daily activity, mundane tasks, work. You might be feeling the psychological burden of service. You might be noticing that the grind is where your mental health isn't as much in this Venusian, beautiful, pleasurable energy as you would like. It could be people you work with. Mercury is your ruler and your 4th house. So you could feel more motivated for work is another way this could show up, especially if you are in psychological work of any kind. You could just be on a wonderful tangent of communication and getting new projects off the ground, new writing. You could have a presentation to do. North Node's in your 10th house. And so there's some faded visibility happening there. But there can also be inflammatory health conditions that show up that are part of showing you where there's more trust and faith to stay in that energy of peace and acceptance. Inflammatory conditions in our body are a sign that our stress sometimes is getting out of hand, or that we're not managing that balance very well of pleasure and rest and downtime, which is Pisces on the other side of the 6th house. For you, that's a Taurus house, a Venusian house. So rest is really important. A lot of Geminis don't take a lot of rest. You might. Depends on your chart, but Gemini as an archetype is a busy mental, neurological, moving energy. It's always on the go. It's always synthesizing. It's always taking ideas and putting them into material form. Gemini can be very chatty and social, and also the ability to process a lot of different things means that there could be a scattered mental energy. If any sign is going to have more of a electronic dopamine pattern and conditioning, that's a Gemini quality, where a few seconds, short ideas kind of everywhere, not necessarily that grounded follow through of putting ideas into material. That could be more Virgo, where it's an earth sign. Gemini is the air sign. Both mutable, so both very changeable energy that's on the go. Even though we're talking about the fifth house, I do think that slowing down is going to be an element for Geminis. And that's going to help you find more connection with children, more connection with your own inner child, and play and creativity. We do have a lot of air and water at this time, though. Very movable energies. The only major body in Earth right now is the South Node, which means that it's draining that grounded energy. So we are very much in a heightened state. This new moon could be a moment where you notice that feeling more than ever, and it's that heightened, movable energy that helps you ground later on. The other piece of this grand cross is Jupiter squaring Chiron, Jupiter in your second house, Chiron in your 11th house. This is about values around your community, the connections that you make, the networks you are a part of, audience, marketplace. Jupiter is expanding your own self-worth, your assets, but at the time of this new moon, I think the important piece to focus on is values. What do you value? What do you value with family and safety and nurturing because it's in Cancer? What makes you feel safe? What makes you feel safe in connection? And if you've had wounding with Chiron in these networks, or Chiron could be a motivating element right now for networks and community where you want to bond with people that have a healthy sense of self. As you're working on yours within community, it's important that you have a match there. That'll be heightened right now. You'll see that reflection, and it's a moment to recalibrate your values, and that will shift the people you connect with. It's going to come down to more fun, more play, more creativity in a Libra way. So I think it's going to involve other people with a lot of Geminis. How do you have fun with others? How do you expand that love with others, your children? How do you use your relationships in life to continue to amplify love and creativity in yourself, and have that continue to expand and heal your networks and systems with Chiron in opposite tension to this new moon in your 11th house? That's the systems. It's going to come from Pluto in Aquarius, which is also about the systems and networks. Divine intelligence can come through with this, especially in your 9th house, which is where this position is. And you want to lean on that. You want to let old beliefs about the world fall to the wayside and make room for intuitive guidance on this. And it could come from other people, but you're going to feel this strong intuitive pull to do something new. And it's going to come from your mindset, and it's going to feed your creativity and your romance and your relationships. You let me know, Gemini. I would love to hear how this is playing out for you. And if you would like to process more with a one-on-one reading with me, check out my link in the description below. But thank you so much for being here. Have a wonderful new moon, and I will see you next time. Hi, Cancer. This is a 4th house new moon for you. So this is all about home, inner world, family, the family that you came from, your home that you live in currently. This is energy that's been passed down to you through family lineage that you're creating more harmony with because it's the sign of Libra. And Venus, the ruler here, means that you're valuing home and family in a different way. This is a wonderful time to have a new beginning for your actual home, for decorating, for spending money on your home with Venus in this part of your chart. But this could have to do with relationships that feel like home. And the energy that goes into building a relationship that feels like that. Is there equal listening and discussion and understanding and creating of peace, love, and harmony with both people or with people you live with? And in which ways are you looking at where you came from, where your family habits and tendencies were as far as how the home life was, and how you can create a more loving experience in the core of who you are that expands into your home. This is a wonderful place to have a beautiful new moon like this. Mars and Mercury are in your 5th house of Scorpio. This is an element of your creative self-expression, loyalty, wearing your heart on your sleeve, feeling like you are in touch with who you really are and that you can have fun from that place. And with Scorpio in this part of your chart, there's an element of deep psychological growth, transformation, going into those psychological realms with whatever you do. Maybe you're doing that with your children right now. For a few of you, that this is going to have to do with actual children. This could have to do with your inner child that feels like they want more depth. There's a need to understand and connect in your home life with something that is real and all-encompassing of the cycles of life. Libra is a lovely, harmonious, beautiful quality to have in the home. You could have a home that is very Venusian and pastel colors and beauty and balance, and it's pleasant to be in. But what's going to really feel engaging and like you in this creative essence is to go into this water sign of Scorpio and know that there's fullness in all psychological realms and states, and that there's an opportunity for transformation. And this transformation can mean that you're just doing different things for fun. You're finding what you used to find fun, going through another cycle of change, or you're motivated to get on that creative project. For those of you who are in psychology of any kind, writing right now and getting all of your knowledge and thoughts out onto paper, you could be on a very passionate mission with that, with Mars. And the ruler of that house, by tradition, is Mars, rules Scorpio, but Pluto is the modern ruler that's currently in your 8th house of Aquarius, which is the house of Scorpio. You have this extra layer of Scorpio energy that's being activated. Pluto is transformative. Aquarius is bringing in divine, intuitive information that helps guide the way to deeper bonds in the 8th house. Merging of resources could be a topic. Support financially or otherwise from important, significant relationships and contracts in your life could be a big part of that. But at an energetic, emotional level, this is your psychological evolution, and it's going to potentially be in the process of merging with others, maybe people that are connected to your home, that are really reaching your inner world right now. And the point is all about deepening and enriching relationships through psychological depth. There's an element here where Cancers are really expanding. Jupiter in your sign is creating growth in all levels of your life. At this time, it's squaring Chiron in your 10th house, and that's what's opposing the moon from the 4th and 10th axis. These cardinal points are extra important for the cardinal signs right now. And with Chiron in your 10th and Jupiter in your 1st, I think of this as really being seen for all that you are, growing in this public image and acceptance of letting the world see you. Maybe you're writing and your passion projects are going into some sort of public visibility right now. And that could be uncomfortable. But it's the same element that you are fueling this Mars in Scorpio with, is that what is uncomfortable for each of us is also an element of compassion and being there for each other. And it drives our passions that much further when we know that our pain and our experience can help others. So that might be an element that leaves you feeling more comfortable going into whatever visibility is being activated right now. Saturn and Neptune are at the top of your chart as well. They were in Aries with Chiron, and now they're slowly going back into Pisces. Saturn is there, Neptune is next, shortly after this new moon. And so you're revisiting stuff about your belief systems, your mindset. You're getting things feeling more solid about the information that you're taking from the world and the purpose that you see behind it all. In 2026, this is going to feed your public image even more. You're going to start to feel like the work that you've done in your ninth house is ready to share. This knowledge has purpose. These scorpionic underworlds have purpose. And you have this safe, lovely cocoon of Libra in the fourth house that is kicking off right now and creating a safe, nurturing, balanced home space for you to launch out into the world even more. That is an important element for all of us when it comes to the fourth house and the 10th house dynamics of feeling safe and rooted and grounded and then being out in the world in our public image, but especially for a Cancer, because this is your space, the fourth house, and home and safety and nurturing is crucial for your expansion with Jupiter there and your overall happy existence. Everybody's chart can be different, and I like to point that out over and over here and there, but Cancer as an archetype is going to mean that you create a sense of safety for yourself and others. You prioritize it, you prioritize family and home, and there's often a homebody quality to Cancer that they recharge at home. So whatever you're creating for home right now, Cancer, you have all of the stars aligned to create something really beautiful. Inner world, your actual home, the people you live with, your family of origin, the place that you came from, your mother's lineage, this transmutation of being more in your element and using this scorpionic psychological depth to get wherever it is that you're going. So don't let that element go at the time of this new moon. Incorporate it into your blissful, beautiful inner world that you're creating in whichever way feels right to you. I would love to hear how this is actually playing out. It's so much fun chatting with you in the comments. And if you would like to process more with your personal chart, I will link my booking site in the description below. Thank you so much for just being here and checking out this video. Have a wonderful new moon, and I will see you next time. Leo, this is the third house new moon for you. So this is all about your communication, your listening, the media you take in, the media you create. Venus here, also in the sign of Libra, where the new moon is extra beauty and value to whatever it is that you are putting out in the world with your ideas, with your thought sharing, with your communication, with media, dialogue. And it matters what we take in, because what we take in is what feeds our brain, what feeds our thoughts, and then that goes out into the dialogue we share with other people. Venus is also the ruler of your 10th house, and that rules your public image, your career, your status, your reputation, your authority over the work that you do and the places that you're going. So there will be something tied into this that's public image and status related. Relationships are going to be the learning ground for the conversations that you're having. And this could lead to whatever it is that you're working on in career and public image, and create that much more value, alignment, and harmony and balance with the way that you speak, the way that you write, and how the world sees you for those qualities. Mars and Mercury are in your fourth house of Scorpio. This conjunction is a brand new cycle of motivation for communication about your home life, your inner world, family dynamics, family lineage, your mother's side of the family. There's going to be more passion and communication and mental processing that's inspired from this inner world home life stuff. And that is where you have this skill to put that into a harmonious expression with the new moon in your third house. Because the scorpionic stuff that's going on in your fourth house, where Mercury and Mars are joining for a new cycle, this is the depths of the psychological realm that are uncomfortable for a lot of people. But when you have Libra in your third house in this beautiful new moon, you have the ability to put what is uncomfortable to some into thoughts and dialogue and writing to make it a comfortable place for those two areas to merge. Very shortly after this new moon, the sun will be in Scorpio, and everybody is going to be feeling more focused on some of these psychological transformations, purging what was old, bringing in more room for harmony and peace and healthy relationships. Leos have extra relationship focus at the time of this new moon. Everyone's going to be thinking about relationships and harmony and how to connect with others in a deep Scorpio yet beautiful way in Libra and balanced. But you have Pluto in the 7th house, which for Leos is completely transforming and revolutionizing how you connect with other people. So I think for Leos, this has probably been a passion for a while, where you're thinking about relationships, you're thinking about what it means to have a deep bond with someone that is both lovely and psychologically healthy and real. This is the thinking framework that is happening right now, is that we can go into some of these more painful parts of our psyche and at the very same time have a light, harmonious approach to it once there's a certain amount of personal healing that's been done. Everyone's going to be going through their own individual process and layers and tools for that. But in the charts, there's a lot of connecting those different parts. And what will happen over the next 18 years is that you're going to see the benefits in your relationship part of your life. With Aquarius here, you have the ability to do things differently than they've been done before. Create something that is independent and unique and revolutionary for both people. Yet at this Libra new moon, there's also the merging that wants to happen, the focus on other and the focus on harmony. The trick with Libra is that the harmony doesn't come from the other. It comes from the Libra energy. And Libra yet is focused on the other. So Libra is where we lean into a quality of we can focus on the other and attune to what another person needs, wants, is saying, and truly hear them. No matter what their state they're in, we can hold that harmony and peace in ourselves and for that situation. And that is a place of a lot of psychological work for a lot of people, because when we're blinded to what is showing up in our own nervous system, that's when we go into an automatic reaction to what someone else is doing without seeing that there's a natural separation with what others going through and what we can go through. Jupiter in your 12th house is squaring Chiron in your 9th house, which is opposing this moon. So creating this grand cross in the sky, and Jupiter in your 12th house is bringing a reach into the energy that connects us all. This can be very intuitive. So you could be getting a lot of this new way of moving forward through meditation, rest, downtime. I like to think of meditation often as that it's not about necessarily sitting down and doing all of the steps, though that can be helpful in a lot of cases. But it's putting yourself into that rest zone enough so that your mind, your cognitive, rational, constantly processing and trying to be discerning mind takes enough of a break that guidance comes in. So however that happens for you, I find it used to happen often when I was running and cycling, because there's just this repetitive distraction for my nervous system and my brain can go into another place. So curious to hear how each of you find the best tuning into that energy. But if you feel called to rest, Jupiter is encouraging that. Jupiter in your 12th house is encouraging more focus on the energy of the world and of that brewing place before you create what's in the material. The square to Chiron, though, is going to be rubbing a wound when it comes to being a teacher or having teachers in your life or experiencing perspectives that are different than yours and foreign in the house of foreign places. It could actually be foreign cultures and things that are not as familiar to you that are coming into the picture. And there could be a layer of insecurity with Chiron in the ninth house of feeling like your beliefs and perspectives are not well received when there's opposing energy around that. But Jupiter in your 12th with a square to that energy is it's an expansion in the 12th house. It's an all connectedness. And so that Jupiter sees that it doesn't matter so much if people have different ways of seeing the world or different purposes that they're approaching their knowledge from. That in the end, whatever approach, whatever teaching, whatever spiritual process or perspective, if it's helping us get from A to B for each of us, then that's all that matters. It doesn't really matter. If it's different in that way, it's actually all the same because it's helping the same process. You're letting go of some of the wounding around stuff that's been different and hard to integrate in your bigger picture of the world. There's an ease of letting the energy just happen and just be, and knowing that there's trust and faith in whatever is going on in the world. It doesn't have to look good, which is what Libra wants where this new moon is. And I think a lot of us will be challenged on that very thing, that what looks like harmony and what looks like balance and equality and all of these lovely Libran relationship qualities is that it can actually be the opposite if the Libra energy chooses to prioritize someone else other than themselves for the sake of harmony, or if they brush over what's really going on for the sake of peace and not ruffling anyone's feathers. But yet Jupiter in your 12th house is helping this Libra new moon, showing that peace and harmony in communication and writing and relationship media and books and texts, that can come from a place of lots of fourth house scorpionic passion and depth and upheaval and uncomfortable changes and that metamorphosis process that comes from going into pain and coming back out on the other side. So they really all do come together in a lot of different ways for you, Leo, but relationships are a huge focus. The communication within those relationships as a spiritual intuitive process, and really showing what's on the inside as far as those watery depths that are there. And they're getting stirred up right now with Mars and Mercury. So they want to be let out. And you, more than other signs, are finding that harmonious way to put it into language, put it into media, and deepen your actual relationships in your world. I would love to hear some Leo advice in this video. It's so much fun hearing from you in the comments and chatting with you on Zoom calls. I will link my booking site in the description below if you want to check that out. But thank you for just being here and joining me for this video. Have a wonderful new moon, and I will see you next time. Hi, Virgo. This is the second house new moon for you. So this is a brand new beginning when it comes to your self-worth, your values, your assets. The second house can even cover the way that you nourish your body, the food you take in, the way that you grow your assets and invest, the way that you spend your energy. All of these physical manifestations of how the second house can turn up really call to how you value the energy that you have at your access and how you value it in relationships. Virgos are a sign of service, and there may be a tendency to give more, be there for another person. You value harmony with Libra in your second house. You value balance and diplomacy, love, dating, relationships, getting to know someone. Because Virgo is of service, there's often an element of putting the other person first when it comes to your values. But this new moon with Venus here is a level of shifting your beliefs about the world, which is Taurus, your ninth house, and the other sign that Venus rules. And so it's going to play a role, whatever you have in that part of your chart, as far as how you integrate the purpose of ideas, how you discover new things, how you expand your beliefs about the world and about pleasure, about Venusian-like things, about your value, especially because Venus is now in your second house. This could be a wonderful time for a new money opportunity. This could be a time where you have a new relationship with Venusian-like foods, which is sweetness and carbohydrates and those things that give us a lot of pleasure. But first and foremost, it's going to be how you harmonize and balance the energy you put out in the world. And when you put as much value on yourself and your assets and your money as you do your relationships and your connections and your other people to balance that harmony, then there actually is more room for more growth in a relationship. And there's enough skill now, enough evolution in our human conscious state right now that we can have both. We can have love and harmony and not necessarily give all of our energy or money or assets away. So when you start aligning with that, this is where Venus could bring you more money in the sign of Libra, more love for the energy that you embody, and that's why food is part of the second house. So when we take in food, we're taking in energy. And when you really value your energetic system, you are very cautious usually about what goes in. And that doesn't mean we're not going to enjoy food. That doesn't mean we're not going to have pleasure from it. It's that the pleasure changes, that balance of what we found pleasurable in food or the things that we spend money on shifts. Jupiter in your 11th house, squaring Chiron and Chiron opposing this moon. This is about expanding your systems, your networks, your audience. This is about healing any wounds you have with psychological transformation of the 8th house, bonding with other people, psychological merging and healing of self and with another person, receiving support, receiving either assets or energy support from other people. And Mars and Mercury in your 3rd house are this passion being lit up for communication around deeper scorpionic psychological topics. There's a lot of scorpionic activation for you with Chiron in your 8th house, which is the house of Scorpio, and Scorpio being your communication house, which means that what you like to take in with media, what you like to think about, read about, talk about, you want it to go deep. You want it to be about transformation. You want it to be about what's beneath the surface, no matter what it looks like. Virgos have an excellent way of being able to put into logical understanding what the balance of a deep psychological transformation could feel like, as well as keeping that light beauty of the value of harmony and more Taurus and Libra-like qualities with this new moon condition. So it's showing up in your networks and your audience. It's changing how you view your own psychological transformation. And with Uranus at the top of your chart, I haven't brought this into other signs yet, but for you, it's on in your 10th house on the angle of the top of your chart. And that means that you are breaking through with your public image, how you're seen by other people as someone who's uniquely you, who can have new and radical information to lead with that helps other people follow in that Aquarius step. So whatever it is that you're doing in the second house with your values and harmonizing that for yourself, it's having a wonderful effect at the same time in your 10th house of public image, transforming psychological well-being, really getting into the nitty-gritty of communication. This is an energy of gift of gab because typically Mercury and Mars is going to really explode the Scorpio realm. It's going to create fire and intensity and excitement to go into those depths of scorpionic passion. But because this is a lot of Libra energy right now, there's this same ability to stay in this harmonic, beautiful value of going into those deep places with communication. That's going to create a nice balance for whatever is showing up in those deeper third house thoughts and communication. It's a great energy to reassess what you value as far as your thought patterns. Where do you spend a lot of your time looking at media and thinking about things? Is it helpful? Is it functional? Is it going deep enough? Are you finding supportive psychological information out there that's helping you transform what you value in life? It's helping you, at this moment, step into a more Libra energy that creates pleasure with Venus here. Definitely a strong energy of focusing on any wounds that you have around self-expression of Scorpionic-like topics with Chiron in the 8th house. And we just had this full moon in Aries that probably brought a lot of that to the surface for you. So you're feeling more heightened in understanding some of your psychological hurts. And you're willing to talk about that. You're willing to bring that to the surface. You might be willing to write about it and create media about it if that's something that is part of your life. And you're seeing the beauty and the pleasure in going into some of those more radical depths. And you're being seen in a wonderful light for it. And you might even be making new connections for it too. New networks and communities, new audience, however this is showing up. For some of you, this could be ideas you find on the internet that really help dial in different financial and energetic and value systems for you. But you let me know, Virgo. I would love to hear how this is showing up for you. There's a lot of different ways. So much fun to chat with you in the comments. So thank you for that. Thank you for being here. If you want to check out a one-on-one Zoom reading with me, I will link that in the description below. But have a wonderful new moon. Thank you for hanging out for this video, and I will see you next time. Libra, this is your new moon. This is a wonderful energy for all Libras out there. You have Venus in your 1st house, which is your ruler, and it's bringing an amplitude of Venusian energy to you. It's helping you be more Libra in all the best ways. And this is also a new moon where you have the opportunity to step into that. It's been coming up a lot lately, my perspectives on Libra energy, which I really do think that if more people operated in the healed, healthy manifestations of Libra energy, the world would be a better place. And that's what you're stepping into. You have likely gone through a lot of changes over the last 6 months since the moon was full in your sign. That was a lot of letting go and a lot of realization of areas where you can bring in more of that opposing Aries on the other side of the axis energy, where you can move through the world with a bit more assertion of self. And this is one of those moments because it is in the 1st house, which is the Aries house. This is you. How do you move through the world in your Libra ways? And if there are adjustments that you've been wanting to make and you've been coming into the awareness over the last 6 months, then this is when the action starts to take place. This is when you start to see changes in your world and changes in the things that you do that reflect everything you've been observing about yourself for the last 6 months. Jupiter is in your 10th house, Chiron is in your 7th house, and that's creating a square and opposition energy with this moon. Chiron opposing this moon in Aries is that element of where you were wounded in the past that made you feel like you could not take action out in the world, that you could not take action, sometimes even maybe against what other people expect or want or need. Jupiter in your 10th house is expanding your appearance even more of coming across as nurturing, safe, family-oriented. Some of you could work with families, but most of you are going to feel this desire to come across in the world as a nurturing, motherly figure. And that's a big element of what's happening. It's this Jupiter energy in Cancer that's helping heal your relationship axis, because Jupiter expands, it heals, it sheds more light and more wisdom. You could be seeing family patterns from your father's side of the family, or family patterns as it relates to inner authority and the control that you have out in the world over yourself, over your reputation, over the things that you do that are more public. The psychological layers for you are Mars and Mercury in your second house and Pluto in Aquarius in your fifth house. Mars and Mercury in your second house are uncovering more values that maybe were beneath the surface. It could be uncovering fear of self-worth. It could be uncovering any psychological depth and process that's going to help you restructure your values of your own worth and the energy that you want to attract into the world through other people and through your connections. Pluto in the fifth in Aquarius is a breakthrough moment in your inner joy, your creative self-expression, being more you. So this overlaps really well with this Pluto in the fifth house in Aquarius to what's going on in your partnership house of Aries. These are fire signs, and there's an element of bursting forth quickly, self-initiating, and that there's space for that. There's healthy space for that. And as a Libra, holding the dichotomy and the balance of these more peacemaking, harmonious, beautiful, soft, gentle energy that you can present in relationships, combined with this fire and zest of who you really are, the worth that you see in your own psychology, in the watery depths of things that most people don't get to see, bringing value to some of these dark scorpionic places of fear and control, and using that as an asset, not just to continue to mask fear and a sense of not having enough power in the world. This moon is one of those moments where you're going to start to feel more authentic empowerment with other people. And then our fears and our deeper psychological nature get to be a part of the rich character of who we are and not a burden. Not something we need to hide from others, not something we need to hide from the world, because Jupiter is in your 10th house in another water sign. So that's bringing more of your emotional, intuitive capacity to light. And in the things that you do out in the world, whether that's how you move through rules and regulations and authority and your workplace, or just how people see you. You're showing that watery, intuitive, psychological nature, and it's really working for you right now with whatever partnerships are showing up. Because Chiron is in your partnership house with Aries, that is one spark that could feel a little more sensitive. And so if you notice that with any partnerships in your life, bring it back to the acceptance of all of that storminess that can be on the inside, and not necessarily about any kind of problem or irritation or sensitivity that shows up. That being not the experience itself, but what it stirs up. That's more important. And that's an important thing for you to bring into alignment with how much value you place on those things. That will be the second house Mars Mercury energy. For Libras, because this is your new moon, this is your sign, this is your element, you have this natural gift and strength here. And so for you, more than other signs, incorporating the second house element of Scorpio might be a little bit easier. Typically, Libra and Scorpio follow each other in the zodiac, and that means they're not at a big enough angle to really fully see and understand each other. They're 30 degrees apart, or they're right next to each other, each sign taking up 30 degrees. For most people, we need 60 degrees between signs, between placements to start to have more awareness of that. I would love to hear how Libras are sorting out these two dynamics in your life if you feel open to sharing, because this process is going to be that much richer for those of you with a lot of strong Libra in your charts. Embrace any fears, embrace the uncomfortable feelings of power versus lack of power versus healthy power, and how fear can be the perfect waking up energy for us to look at some of those deeper things. And ultimately, you get to put your best gifts forward as a Libra and create harmony and balance alongside some of these other more rattling emotions. And with Pluto really transforming how you express yourself in the world, reaching a new level of networked functioning in your own system so that you can express and be free and feel love for yourself, for your hobbies, for your passions, for being a creative being, and have that be the ingredient that merges relationships. Have a wonderful new moon, Libra. Thank you so much for hanging out here. It's so much fun chatting with you in the comments and doing one-on-one Zoom readings. If you would like to check out more on that, I will link my booking site in the description. But for now, thank you and have a wonderful new moon. I'll see you next time. Hi, Scorpio. This is a new moon in your 12th house. So this is something that was maybe hidden coming to light, a blind spot about yourself and your relationships that's coming to the surface. This could be more time alone, more time in meditation, wonderful time to just spend time doing nothing, connecting to energy and seeing what comes to you in the 12th house. Especially with Venus here, there's an extra element of getting pleasure and enjoyment out of time alone and rest. This could be vacations, getaways, just for the sake of getting away and lazing around, retreats. This is anything that takes you away from work and productivity and everything in the 6th house opposing side of this axis. So if you've been spending a lot of time analyzing things, working, doing the more cerebral side of the to-do stuff in life, this new moon is a wonderful opportunity to do the opposite. And maybe with a relationship, maybe with someone else. Jupiter is in your 9th house of Cancer. Chiron is in your 6th house in Aries, opposing this moon. And so it's the Chiron element of a wound around self and doing. And Jupiter's here to heal with your perspective in the ninth house, more nurturing, more family time, a different perspective on what family means to you. And this could have to do with the family that you came from or other organizations and things you consider family, groups you consider family in this life. Chiron on the 6th house could be an element of feeling like if you're not constantly being productive and taking action and doing out in the world, then you're not of service or benefit or usefulness. Because this energy is connecting with Jupiter to your perspectives of the world in the 9th house, I think that this is a strong element of what is your perspective of doing and getting things done and productivity, healthy routines. What is your perspective on nurturing yourself and how is that affecting your health? Having Aries in the 6th house health-wise can mean that there is a head-related problem, a head-related connection to either health or overdoing, that when you get too much into this heady Aries energy, that overproduction might cause actual headaches. It might be in an overdrive that then becomes not so productive. And I see that a lot with the 6th and 12th house axis, is that in order to really have productivity, efficient productivity, we need a healthy, rested 12th house. And Aries energy can just go, but not get anything done because it's so busy starting many, many different tasks. And it's this axis that's asking for more nurturing with Jupiter in Cancer. Mars and Mercury are in your sign, and Pluto is in your 4th house of Aquarius. So Mars and Mercury in your sign can be another energy of overdoing it mentally. Mars is very speedy. Mars is the ruler of your 6th house, Aries. Mercury is that Mercury is that cerebral, chatty, cognitive energy that rules your 8th house and your 11th house. There's a lot of scorpionic layers there too, because of Gemini in the 8th house being ruled by Mercury in your 1st house of Scorpio, and 8th house is Scorpio. So this is where psychological matters are heightened for you right now. It's not quite Scorpio season, but it really feels like it with the energy that we're dealing with. So you might have more time in this 12th house rest, but it's really about psychological investigation for you. Psychological transformation, turnaround. You're motivated by that with Mars in Scorpio in your sign. Your ability to think and process is heightened right now. And Pluto, being the modern ruler of Scorpio in your 4th house, again, is another element of family, home-related transformation. In Aquarius, the questions are about how do you become something completely different than what your family upbringing was? How do you amalgamate all the ideas that you have been coming to in this world and create something different from that place where you're not so concerned about what people who would prefer you stay the same, especially if this relates to parents and family, when you're not so concerned about how they feel about your changes. Aquarius energy trusts that even though other people are not quite ready for the changes they're about to embark on, they trust that those people will follow soon enough, and that it takes one person doing it first, and that's revolutionary and new and different until everyone else follows, and then it's just normal. Then it's just a Capricornian traditional way of doing things. This is where you're called to do a lot of changes with family and home life. It could be your actual home, but energetically it'll have to do with your family lineage. With Jupiter in your 9th house of Cancer, that's the processing change that's happening first. That's the perspective change that's happening first. Maybe you have a new teacher in your life, many new teachers, that you don't even fully see the impact that they're having on some of this perspective shift. Maybe you're interested in looking into new family ways of being. You're reading material about family healing and transformation around those dynamics. Maybe you are a teacher in that realm. As you teach others how to navigate family life, you're learning a lot yourself. This is a wonderful time for rest and rejuvenation, reflection. With Mars in your sign, you can feel so passionate and ramped up that you need physical activity to help funnel some of that. Because Mercury is there, this is a wonderful time to write about psychological topics. So much stuff is highlighted with you for family. So writing about family psychology, family transformation, changes that you want to see, writing about the reasons why you might have overdrive in some areas of your life, like the 6th house of tasks and work and health. What is that overdrive all about? And is it protecting something else from your family upbringing that needs to be handled or wants to be handled in a different way? These are all of the insights that will come to you with more time away from work, more time with yourself, more time thinking about what you believe in this world, being open to new ideas about what you believe in when it comes to family and how the world works in family dynamics. And then the opportunity to revolutionize your own home. But that is a longer journey. That is Pluto in Aquarius for 18 years, but it's activated right now, and it's a really important part of this bigger ongoing process. I would love to hear how this is showing up for Scorpios. It's so much fun hearing those details in the comments and chatting with you there, as well as the one-on-one Zoom readings. If you would like to know how this is showing up for your personal chart, which could be quite different than some of the general information, I will link my booking site in the description below. But thank you so much for just being here, checking out this video. Have a wonderful new moon, and I will see you next time. Hi, Sagittarius. This is a new moon in your 11th house. So this is all about your networks, your friends, your community, your audience. This is the house of Aquarius by classic position. And so there's an element of revolutionizing these connections, being really different with how you create harmony in your communities and bigger networks in the world. Jupiter is in your 8th house and Chiron in your 5th house. This moon is opposing Chiron and activating a wound in your 5th house around creative self-expression. Your ability to just kick that off, which the element there with Sagittarius energy, and this is different depending on your specific charts, but Sag as an archetype in itself is always expanding and searching for more knowledge, deeper understanding of the world through adding more foreign experiences and concepts that are unknown. But the challenge is using that, because when we're open and curious, there's a never-ending expansion of more and more and more knowledge. But what does it really matter if we can't use it to better situations? With Chiron in the 5th house, there's a wound around this ability to act impulsively. It's an intelligent process with Sag, because you know through experience, through knowledge, that impulsive action is limited in this very Sag, expansive knowledge area. Beyond that, Chiron in the 5th house means that you've probably had a lot of situations in life, situations early in life, that really halted impulsive expression of self. Yet, Jupiterian Sagittarius energy can be larger than life. You have this light inside of you that so badly wants to just keep building and growing and express. So this is a nuanced layer, but where is it in your life that you had to shut down a hobby, shut down romance, shut down your heart, shut down impulsive romantic feelings, shut down taking action towards love and dating and romance? With Jupiter in the 8th house, this is psychological healing. So there might have been something that in the 5th house where you went for it, you went for that thing you really wanted quickly and impulsively, and you didn't get it. It didn't work out. And that built a psychological imprint that impulse is wrong. Jupiter is here to change that under this new moon. There is an opportunity for impulsiveness to be an asset in your life. There's an opportunity for action to be rich because you have this built-in knowledge system as a Sag and this ability to say yes, and what about this? What about that? And so any of you who can relate to this, especially when it comes to group and community, that you might be going with the flow, there might be harmony created at a cost of yourself, what you really want, and not always being so diplomatic, that there's a creative self-expression that is fiery and ruthless in Aries, that it really doesn't care about diplomacy so much. And yet when it connects to Jupiter in Cancer in the 8th house, there's a nurturing of that psychological whole package. This Jupiter is really connecting Libra and Aries right now in showing us that we can have both. We just need to nurture that process. We need to connect with people that feel like family and that also create a nurturing space for us to continue to grow in this balance of self-assertion and care and concern and listening to other people. Pluto in your 3rd house adds a gift of gab in this situation. Your communication is highlighted. It's in trine to Mercury, which is the ruler of Aquarius in your 7th house. So unusual communication, unexpected communication from partnerships, your ability to completely transform how you have been communicating and thinking about things. And there's going to be more of that Aries element where you get to be more raw, more you. There's something that's reaching a new level in your partnerships with Uranus here, the ruler of Aquarius, and Pluto in Aquarius, bringing it to next level, which is what Aquarius and Uranus do. They crumble the old, they level up. It's something that has never been done before in many cases. So communication and relationships, I really like how this is playing in for Sages out there. And this is coming across because this is a new moon. There's an element of community and connection at a wider scale, as well as these individual partnerships, whether that's within community or other one-on-one important relationships to you. This can manifest in so many material ways, but it looks like you could be joining communities with significant people in your life, and that is helping you feel more like you, helping you give an avenue of more creative self-expression, and giving you a system to play within that helps you be impulsive more safely. This could be sport related, this could be art, this could be hobbies, this could be friendships. So many different opportunities there. Notice how your communication has been transforming. Notice what's revolutionizing in your partnerships. And for Sagittarius out there, have a little fun in community, have fun with this energy, find areas of play and connection that feel different, that let you be unique and all of those things. But you let me know. I would love to hear how this is showing up for you, Sag. So much fun hearing from you in the comments and chatting with you for one-on-one Zoom calls. I will link that process in the description. Have a wonderful new moon. Thank you for hanging out here, and I will see you next time. Capricorn. This is a 10th house new moon for you, and you are one of the cardinal signs that are strongly activated with a new moon on the angles of your quadrants. The 10th house is going to be about your public image, your status, your reputation, your Capricornian essence, your authority over yourself and the way that you manage authority in this world and playing a certain role in this world. That's the thing with Capricorn in the 10th house, is that it's about following the rules and the guidelines of this earthly plane. That's how we get ahead. That's how we build a strong foundation. That's how systems work somewhat in this world. Yet there's a trap there for Capricorns. There's a feeling that you can't break free from your responsibilities to other people, the grind, the responsibilities you hold to yourself. The more of a position of work and power, not necessarily the same type of power that we're talking about with Pluto when we're talking about the Capricorn house, but this is the responsibility that comes with authority, the responsibility that comes with work and career and being a leader. There's an element where Capricorn can feel too tied to that process. Once you get to a certain level of experience and growth and work in the world, you have to keep that going. With Libra here, the topics are going to be around what really matters to you in your inner world. How do you express and share what's really going on? And there's a level in the 10th house of Libra where your work persona, the person you put out in the world, is using the skills of diplomacy and peacemaking and organizing others in a way that brings your authority some ease, that makes you feel better about who you are in the world if others see you that way. This moon is more about taking that Aries impulsive, raw nature of your inner world and letting that be an element of leadership as well. And I feel like this is a relevant piece that's coming out now in the world, where being in the work persona is no longer the same thing as what it was in the 50s, where everyone wore suit and ties and there was a structure to the office and there were words in our expression that we were forced to use. And there was a part of ourselves that did not operate within that Capricornian way of doing things in the workforce. And that must be subdued. Any realness of ourselves that creates friction of this perfect public work image, no place for that. But that's what's changing right now. There's more appreciation for what's real and raw, no matter what role we're in. It has to be handled with professionalism, and there's still guidelines and rules that we need to work within to be in our work roles, to be a leader, and to have a sense of authority in a way that other people are going to respect what we're doing. But this is slowly changing, where the more elements you bring in of who you truly are on the inside, the better that outward energy can get. Jupiter in your 7th house means that there is an element of expanding relationships and connection. You might have someone in your life that's very nurturing, that's helping bring this out in you, in your inner world and outer world expression. You might be learning relationship lessons from work and public image and what you do out in the world, and that's feeding into your relationships. Your status of relationships could be changing with energy like this. And any fears that you have around your ability to take charge of who you really are within partnerships, work partnerships, outward representation, those could be activated. And it's a calling to explore, nurture those feelings. You probably have partnerships that are willing to do that too and help you along the way. I actually had a wonderful conversation with a colleague this week where the full moon in Aries really rocked me emotionally, and we were working on a project together. And in the sweetest, most nurturing Cancerian way, she just said, "Hey, you want to talk about it? Like, let's get this on the table before we move forward with what we're trying to get accomplished with work." And it was so helpful in me putting any of that stuff that got woken up this week to the side, not fully, but knowing that it's okay to have these wobbles and fears before we move into big career changes, and make that part of the essence of what we're doing, because we're all going through that. And the more that we can address that as leaders, as people out in the world, as people in the workforce, the more we can create an ideal working team. Because you have Jupiter in the 7th house of partnerships, the more we can create an image that reflects something real back to whoever else is part of this story that we're working with. And speaking of audience or other people that are seeing this for Capricorns, is that when you have this new moon in the 10th house and you have Mars and Mercury in Scorpio in the 11th house, there's something about the psychological connection to your networks, your audience. You might be in the field of psychology and there's extra presentations that you're doing right now. This energy could certainly speak to that. You have the gift of gab. People are listening to you when Mars and Mercury are together in your 11th house of Scorpio. People want to hear what's beneath the surface, though. People don't want you to stay in this robotic professional role. They want the real scorpionic topics. There's a motivation for you to speak and write about that, but there's also a motivation for others to hear that. Pluto in your 2nd house in Aquarius is an element of transforming your value in being different than you have been before. This could be actual financial stuff where you're transforming your connection to material things, to pleasure, to comfort, to your own self-worth. This is also an element that is going to be out in the public because we're talking about Taurus topics in the 2nd house, and Venus is with this moon, which is the ruler of Taurus. There's a lot of overlap, and it's also Taurus is in your 5th house. So this is about creative self-expression that much more. This is about what you value with your self-worth, your creativity, your security in the world, and how that goes out into the public image. I see this for Capricorns as an opportunity to get more real. And with Libra in the 10th house, you have a natural gift of showing this diplomatic, responsible, yet harmonious, listening to other people side of yourself. And you're doing it from a place of more self-worth, more alignment with what you really value in your own creativity, in yourself, in your audience, in who you connect to in partnerships. And when you're aligned with these values in all of these parts of your chart, the way that you show up in the world is going to be that much sweeter, that much more kind, that much more harmonious in a way that doesn't involve manipulation in order to cover up some of these other more vulnerable parts of yourself. And I think this comes a lot with accepting that there are vulnerable parts in ourselves and other people that both need space. When we see through experience that other people are facing some of the same fears and insecurities around connecting and listening and really wanting to be heard is such a big one that keeps coming up, then there's more room to give that back and forth within relationships. And Capricorns, it's in your 10th house. You're leading this energy for this full moon. Other people are watching you. Other people are looking to you for guidance for how you're conducting this in your life. So keep that in mind and don't be afraid to be out in the public. And I would love to hear how this is going for you. It's so much fun hearing the details of how things show up in your life in the chats, and even more so connecting on the one-on-one Zoom calls. It's so much more depth to see how it's showing up in a personal chart versus a general reading. But thank you so much for just being here and hanging out for this video. Have a wonderful new moon in your public visible career part of your chart, and I will see you next time. Hi, Aquarius. This is a new moon in your 9th house. This is all about your beliefs about the world, your beliefs about relationships, your beliefs about how relationships should go. You are completely transforming yourself and your psychology with Pluto in your sign. And Pluto is the ruler of your 10th house, where Mercury and Mars are conjoining in Scorpio. So you're letting more of your scorpionic, plutonic nature out into the world. As you're going through these transformations, you're more willing to look at your own psychology, to be seen for some of the fears and power struggles that you might face. With Scorpio in the 10th house, there could be an element of fear of being seen, fear of career. Maybe some of you work in scorpionic psychology type work. Maybe there's a root to some of the leadership and power you have in the world that comes from a fear of not having it. And these are just layers that we're always evolving with and working on in our lives. We could reach a healthier layer of personal empowerment every year that we mature and have more life experience. So Mars and Mercury here are motivating your need to cerebrally process, to communicate and take action assertively, impulsively. And the topics are going to be about scorpionic psychology stuff. Because this new moon is in your 9th house, this is about building your expansion of awareness of relationships and the shadow side of relationships, the psychological transformation that can happen within relationships. And you're doing that at the moment through more motivation to bring these to the surface and to be seen for this very real side of yourself. Chiron is in your 3rd house of Aries and Jupiter is in your 6th house. So there's a lot of work emphasis right now. Jupiter in your 6th house can be enhancing work and routine. There's more to do. There's more work at home, maybe because it's in Cancer. There's work to do with healthy habits and health in general. When you have Cancer in the 6th house, health is about nurturing, family connections. There's an element there that's really important. And this activation of Chiron in Aries in your 3rd house is any fears that you have around impulsive communication, around speaking up for what you need. If that has caused problems in the past, there's a level that could be affecting your health, your routines, your habits. And breaking through this with more of a psychological focus right now is transforming the way you think about things, transforming your beliefs about the world and relationships. And when you change from this place of believing, like truly believing, this isn't just thinking about an idea and thinking, oh, that's a really cool idea. Believing is embodying that knowing of that's the truth. That's what's really important. That's what I need. That's the life I can create. That's the life that's possible. And when you fully believe in your body, that this is what has the element of helping you feel more confident in doing what you need, moving towards what you want when it comes to communication, and listening to others at the same time so that there's more joined forces happening with idea sharing within partnerships, with aligning the words and the ideas that come up in communication with a joint effort to merge beliefs, or at least use this dialogue and connection with other people to create an expanded belief system for yourself. I see this for Aquarians as wonderful, expansive knowledge energy and being seen for the true watery depths of who you are. And in showing some of those layers, you're opening up more room for more dialogue, more truth about what you need, maybe even figuring out what you need. But it comes through these conversations right now. And it comes through the vulnerability of opening up to what you're really afraid of, opening up to where you feel a healthy sense of empowerment versus where you might not. And just being explorative and curious when you have a new moon in the 9th house opposing the 3rd house axis. There's searching for expanded ideas that are not necessarily concrete yet, because Mercury and Mars are in your 10th house. They're that conjunction of Mars to Mercury is motivating more of that idea generating piece. And it could be stirring up things that you thought were set, fixed with Scorpio in the 10th house, about your psychology, about your public image, about your career. This is a moment of small change, of seeing something differently and moving towards that ideal belief system that you want to create as your public image too. Uranus in your 5th house in trine to Pluto in your 1st house is just, that's been an ongoing activation all year. It's a bigger picture story, but it points to the other things that are coming up at this new moon, meaning that all of these activations all year are going to reflect somewhat more that transformation of who you really are. Aquarius has this beautiful skill of being revolutionary and different and going off into what they're truly called to do, not just because it's been done in the past. But that can be so strong that there is less of an ability to look at the past and to look at the scorpionic underworld that's also there. And it's a wonderful thing to be in this heightened, creative, airy, divinely cerebral energy of Aquarius. But when we can bring the watery elements of Scorpio with it, we have a more balanced approach to creative self-expression, to being in our intuitive divine mindset, and having all of the elements work together. Because that's the thing with Aquarius, is that it can go so far off in this new world that it wants to be in, that it's lacking the full embodiment of the other things that go on in the world beyond creating new ideas and beyond jumping to the next wonderful new invention. So I see this as being very healing for your work and routines and your health, Aquarius. It's coming from a new mindset, and it's coming from being more vulnerable with yourself, even if this doesn't feel like it applies to public image or relationships. But you let me know. I would love to hear how this is playing out for you. And if you would like to process more with a one-on-one Zoom reading, check out my link in the description below. But so much fun chatting with you in the comments, and thank you for hanging out with me here for this video. Have a wonderful new moon, and I will see you next time. Hi, Pisces. This new moon is in your 8th house. So for you, more than others, this is deep intimacy. This is bonding. This is your psychological process, fears, transformation, shedding, sudden reversals, all leading to better shared energy, intimacy, and resources. This can show up as financial situations. This can show up as psychological, energetic bonding with another person. With Libra here, there will be an element of connection to other, even if this is financial. With Venus here, this also has the opportunity to show up as financial for you. Venus is the ruler of your 3rd house. Venus as the ruler of your 3rd house, Taurus in the 3rd house, could bring an element of communication for you. Short distance travel, vehicles, transportation, shared resources, but shared intellect, shared communication. This is getting ideas through communication and media and things that you're reading and writing yourself or picking up online from other people. These could be important concepts in the psychological transformation or learning relationship techniques for deeper bonding. This can be a house of deep, intimate physical bonding, and that's another way that this could certainly show up. Chiron in the opposite is in the 2nd house of resources, self-worth. So the tension is wounds that you have around your self-worth, what you bring to the table, what you value, and the assets that you possess, and maybe what you have to offer others and joined finances. In this mix, you're going to find more support from other people, a new beginning in support from other people, whether that's your own self-worth or a financial matter. But it's because you're really working with this Chiron and Aries component in your 2nd house around asserting yourself and feeling more worth in asserting your own needs, moving towards what you want. That's going to help your assets. It's going to help other people support your assets and your energy. Jupiter is squaring this axis from your 5th house, and this is going to bring an amplitude of desire for authenticity, creative self-expression, healing family wounds around your own children and how you parent your own children if you have children. This is an expansion of knowledge around how you want your family to be, even if this is chosen family. If this is your own family, maybe this is also could be an element of how you nurture your creative self-expression, how you nurture your ability to have fun and experience joy through the activities that you do, through the connections that you have. The out of sign tension to Pluto is going to give you a bursting forth in your ability to tune into divine guidance, psychic information. This is all Pisces that have been listening. It's been almost in every single video. It's a really big 18-year transit. This is one more moment. Everything about this year has been about your intuition in some way, about your connection to rest, divine guidance, your ability to release things that you didn't see that were holding you back from being both connected and having ideas of your own, being an observer of the energetic world and having that to offer at this time, your connections. So use your deep, vast ability to connect to that wisdom. And the 9th house is where Mars and Mercury are in Scorpio. This is going to be changing your beliefs about something. This is changing your framework for the meaning around beliefs and all of this guidance and information and knowledge that you're getting. How do you put those pieces together to make sense of the world and to make sense of your own psychology? This is where going deeper into your fears, potentially relationship fears, whether that's a need to control for safety or a fear of abandonment or both, or anything else that can come up in the things that we fear, maybe even feeling trapped, maybe even changing who we are because Aries is such a highlighted theme here. It can really be anything, but just keep in mind that what is the purpose of all of this wisdom that's coming to you right now? What is the purpose of the experiences you're having in your relationships? and how that feeds into your self-worth, how you gain more energy from being in a bonded, intimate scenario, how you continue to amplify your creative self-expression with Jupiter in your 5th house of Cancer. This is an area where you could play it safe when it comes to creativity, when it comes to who you really authentically are. And it's through this big collaboration of energy that you start to feel more free to be in that authenticity. More free maybe even to go through psychological transformation with a partner. You're going to be doing a lot of this on your own, and it's going to be coming to you from an intuitive source. Because you have an 8th house new moon, you might find a new therapist or a new way of working with psychology that helps bring this new transformation of meaning and purpose and a bigger belief set system. You could also, some of you, be teaching in the field of psychology and energy, and this would be a moment where you get more information on how you want to share that knowledge with other people. An 8th house new moon is certainly an opportunity where people could come to you to support you. And the piece with Chiron in your 2nd house is going to be around where you're willing to welcome and let that in and let other people help you guide into a deeper sense of self in that scorpionic realm of going into some of those emotions that you might not want to play in some of the time. Because Pisces energy by nature can also be in a very optimistic realm of the energy is just the way it's supposed to be and everything is healing and blissful in the Pisces cosmic womb. Jupiter is also the ancient ruler of Pisces, and that is a very optimistic energy of how the world is just the way it's supposed to be. When we're Scorpio energy, there's some truth in that, but it's more about the cycles of purging and releasing and continuing to evolve, not always just accepting the beauty of the process of the energy of the world and the realms that we connect with. But as a Pisces, I would love to hear what your version is, how you're feeling this energy, because you have so much wisdom to share with us about how you perceive this energetic world right now and how you're dipping your toes into the more watery, scorpionic depths of really a more earthly water sign than what Pisces is by nature. So much fun chatting with you in the comments and seeing you for one-on-one Zoom calls. Thank you so much for just being here, checking out this video. I hope you have a wonderful new moon, and I will see you next time. Hi, Aries. This is a partnership new moon for you in your 7th house. So this is all about other people, important figures in your life that reflect harmony and balance back to you while you continue to work on being the best Aries energy possible with Chiron activated in your 1st house. You, more than other signs, are going to be feeling this Chiron activation of where you're limited to take healthy action towards what you want, where you might not even feel fully connected to your needs and you're just taking action blindly and hoping that something lands and works for you. Jupiter in your 4th house is that home and family piece where you're trying to create an ideal, nurturing, comfortable place for yourself, maybe other people too in your home life. You are healing with Jupiter and expanding this ability to be and create something different in this family realm than where you came from, what you were taught, what you were told you and partnerships should be all about. Venus in your 7th house with this new moon is extra blessings. Your partnerships are going to come across as extra pleasing and harmonious, regardless of what else is showing up. I think it's through more harmonizing from another person that you're going to feel safe getting into some of these Chiron wounds of self and investigating more of what's in your inner world with the 4th house from your family upbringing, from the desires that you have about family. Mars and Mercury are in your 8th house, squaring or have just squared Pluto in your 11th house. And this closing of a cycle in these scorpionic realms for you is about psychological transformation through your networks and connections to others. It's through the desire to transform your connections and networks and community, and maybe even the ways that you individuate from the crowds, yet still feel connected in a system. The desire to continue to individuate, be yourself in and amongst the crowd, be yourself in relationships, is going to really be supported by significant people in your life. And this has the opportunity to transform your networks and connections. It can transform your audience, your community, depending on how this 11th house stuff shows up for you. You are showing up differently. You are healing insecurities around your passion and needs being able to get met by yourself. The thing with Aries is that the initiation sometimes is easy, but the result doesn't always come because there are some missing elements in just that sheer action and initiation and impulse towards what we want. We need fixed signs and mutable signs to finish off that cardinal process that Aries starts off so well. That's where this Pluto purging is so significant, because Pluto is the fixed sign. And that's going to give you the stamina when you really liberate from the crowd's perspective, or when you take on information from the crowd and bring it into something that makes sense for you, that's unique and can help you with this self-limitation in whatever way it shows up for you with Chiron and Aries. Whichever ways you want to expand yourself, expand your family and your relationships, as well as heal those areas of your life, this is all very possible at this new beginning. This is the seed being planted, though. So manifestation will come 6 months from now, and there is a beautiful journey from now until then of how this is all going to start to click into place. But for you, this is intention with your partnerships, shifting the way that you think about your own psychology, getting support maybe, but I really see this as a breakthrough moment where things just release and purge for Aries out there in the 8th house. There could be a source of income or support from another person, or intimate bonding that really helps this process. This could be a therapist coming into your life and communication that you have with that type of influence, or friends and important other people. With 7th house relationships, this can always be a business relationship or any other type of significant person. It's often these people that do offer important messages. When we spend a lot of time building something with a colleague or other committed relationships in our life, they can add to the nourishment and flourishing and a different perspective of our relationships and how we harmonize with other people as well. Wonderful time to enhance all of this. Listening is going to be a big focus, really hearing what another person needs and knowing what you need very clearly as well is going to really help allow the other person to also have their needs met. And that's where you're going to get more of your own met, when that other in your life feels like you are listening, like you are there for them, when you are supporting them in all the best Libran ways. That's when the 1st and 7th house is really just a mirror to self. And that's when you are going to get what you give a little bit more. That's when you're going to be able to move towards what you want and have others receive that well, when it's very mutual and going both ways. But I want to hear from you, Aries. It's so much fun chatting with you in the comments and hearing bits and pieces of how this is showing up in the real world. It really helps me integrate and understand some of this energy all that much better, especially the Zoom readings. So if you feel drawn to seeing how this plays out in your personal chart, a little more detail, check out my booking link in the description below. But for now, have a wonderful new moon. Thank you so much for being here and checking out this video, and I will see you next time. Hi, Taurus. This is a sixth house new moon for you. So this is all about your habits, your routines, the work that you do, the daily tasks to get things done and just maintain life. This is the work we do in the very physical realm. Sometimes it's service to other people as well, service to our own needs and health. With this moon opposing Chiron in your 12th house, any wounds that you have around your spiritual connection to the world or just taking a break could be activated. You might have stories or ideas that resting and retreating and getting away from work is not healthy, not productive, so not useful. But when it comes to the sixth house messages, health and work are done best when our needs are met too. When rest is met, then the efficiency of the tasks we do, and especially our health, really benefits. You could have more intuitive guidance on how to move towards what you want, what you need with Aries, what matters to you, what your impulses really are, what fires you up, what makes you want to take action. And this is going to come from areas of rest and retreat and inner focus in a more spiritual, Piscean, meditative realm. But the beginning, what's going to shift will be in your sixth house of service and health and work and habits. Venus here could mean that you're changing habits around pleasure, around Taurus qualities like what you eat, what brings security, what brings pleasure in this physical world, how you garden, how you nourish yourself, how you operate in day-to-day ways with important relationships. It could be people that you work with. It could be people that you just encounter in your daily routines. And these relationships have the potential to build more balance in your life and create harmony maybe in work, and maybe you're feeling more balance in the service you give others as a way of understanding what they really need, and so that you can deliver what it is that person really needs, rather than just thinking we know what another person needs based on our own needs, but really not getting it quite right. And then when another person, this could be work relationships with the sixth house, but we are talking about relationships because of this Libra component. And when another person doesn't feel like their needs are being met because we're not hearing what they want, they're less likely to meet us where we are too, and to support our actions and to support what we want to initiate in life. The Jupiter square to this axis is coming from your third house of communication in Cancer. What is it about the way that you speak, the mindset, the media you take in, the media you put out, writing and communication here, short distance travel, neighbors, and close relatives, cousins, uncles, aunts? What is it about this part of your life that is going through expansion and healing for nurturing, connection, and support in a family system kind of way? This is also an intuitive house with Cancer here, so another area where you might be leaning on your intuition to have communication in the workplace be the most advantageous for you. If it's health, this is more likely about your mindset, the way that you use your mind towards your health goals. The way that you nurture yourself with your mind is a huge one for this signature. And the benefits that nurturing yourself, finding that sense of comfort in your inner thoughts, finding that sense of comfort in the information we take in. Maybe there's a digital detox. This is where expansion of the way that you communicate is going to have a healing effect on work and health and routines and your ability to rest. Maybe you also get some information from the media that encourages you, you get some new knowledge that sends you on these topics a little bit deeper, and it benefits your health and the way that you get things done in the world. Mars and Mercury are in your partnership house. Passion with partnerships, more communication with partnerships is highlighted. So big communication moon for you, Taurus. And that's where there has been a square to Pluto in your 10th house, and Pluto is the ruler of Scorpio. So there's just still this connection, even though the squares are over, where we now have this information for you in the 10th house of how you present yourself in the world. How do you assert your inner authority and follow systems and rules in a way that helps other people see you in a way that they follow your lead? Or this could be transformation in job and career, and that's what is creating passion with new partnerships and work relationships, or more communication in some way with other people that's heating up. And there's a component to being more original out in the world, taking on leadership skills that involve Libra qualities like listening to others, being there for other people, and then creating reciprocity in that other people are going to work with you and see you in a positive, maybe even genius and highly intuitive guidance that you can provide. That's Pluto in Aquarius, where you have the opportunity to create something brand new and really set yourself apart from others for the ideas that you can think of, the ways that you show yourself out in the world. But back to this new moon in Libra, this is going to come from how you attune to other people, how your connections are balanced, your own needs in the 12th house with Aries. That could, another element other than rest is that it could be hidden from you. So this could be an opportunity where other people help you see what you really need. And the messages are there. The information is coming from family or really important connections, and you're getting more deeply in touch with your Aries needs. And a secret comes to light in that department. That's the 12th house energy, but it's more likely that there's underlying information of yourself that was a secret, that was hidden from you, that is emerging and helping you understand your own needs and the needs of other people better. It's revolutionizing who you are in the world, how you're seen. There's passion and fire in your relationships that could turn into heated arguments. But at this time, there is some positive flow happening with Mercury and Mars. So I have a feeling that if that was a manifestation, it's already happened. And now you're understanding the gifts of whatever that conflict or burst of motivation and desire to get your words out there really meant. Words are healing though, Taurus. That's the biggest theme here for you. Words and listening are what you want to lean on. But you let me know. It's so much fun hearing what's going on in your life in the comments. So love to chat with you there. And with the one-on-one Zoom readings, I will link that in the description below if you feel drawn to check out your own chart more in depth with me. But for now, thank you so much for just being here, hanging out, and watching this video. Have a wonderful new moon, and I will see you next time.